Hello everybody and welcome back to the Pathfinder Grand Tournament. I'm going to go over the rules real quick. As a reminder, we are going to be spinning this wheel to assemble 2 teams of 2 who will then face each other in single combat. Every character is currently level 3 as opposed to level 2 in Season 1, opening up 2nd rank spells for our casters and +1 weapons for our marshals. Every character has been given free access to any equipment that they desire, but there are no consumables or magic items. Every character additionally has the skill feat Battle Medicine for just the option on the field to potentially up their teammates with a free hand. And initiative is pancaked to prevent one team from entirely going first and just stomping the other. Now, as for the narrative here, after the first tournament, our team was paid out. It was sort of like a 1-bracket tournament, and then anyone who won got a solid amount of gold, and they went off and explored and have been out and about for about a year, but they've been invited back for the next stage of the tournament. It turns out that the wizard running the whole thing is quite interested in slowly whittling them down as they progress in their careers as adventurers to try and find out who among them is the strongest. So, with that change, all of our characters here, despite being the same characters, are now level 3, and many of them have had varying degrees of rebuilds on their classes. This is a narrative explanation for the practical purpose of I want to show off a lot of different builds. So, for example, even the sorcerer has been given a retrain just so that I can show off more things, even though the sorcerer in this example did not actually participate in Season 1. They succeeded by doing nothing. Anyways, let's get into assembling our teams, and then we will get right into the battle. Here's our wheel as usual. Let's get it started. The first participant on Team 1 is going to be the Runesmith. Alrighty, so let's bring our Runesmith over here. That'll be Blight-Eyed all the way down here. And now let's see who is going to be accompanying them. And I'll get into their builds as soon as we finish assembling the teams here. The Druid is going to be teaming up with our Runesmith here. Quite an interesting combination. Anton Morrow. Alrighty. And now let's assemble our Team 2 so that we can get into the fights. First up on Team 2 is going to be, looks like Swashbuckler. Almost a champion, but our Swashbuckler is over here somewhere. QSY complains a lot. Come down into the ring. And let's grab our final team member for this first round of fights in Season 2. An Animist. We have some strong teams assembled here. Alrighty, bring Igor Levchenko down. Alrighty, and now getting into the builds. Starting with Team 1 over here. Blight-Eyed, our Runesmith, has simply increased in power as they've been adventuring. They now have a +1 bastard sword, and they have picked up the Fleet General feat. Joining them on Team 2, Anton Morrow has similarly only grown in ability, picking up a Bastard Sword and a Shield Boss using the Weapon Proficiency General feat, and the Animal Form and Floating Flame 2nd rank spells. We move over to Team 2 here. QSY complains a lot, has completely switched over into a Braggart style Swashbuckler, demoralizing, gaining the bravado trait, and has also inexplicably changed into a Hobgoblin. When you succeed in melee strike against a frightened enemy, they can't reduce their frightened below 1 until the beginning of your next turn. Remorseless Lash. Quite good for a braggart. Still using the Flying Blade class feat to be able to do finishers at range, but picking up the Unbalancing Finisher feat to cause targets to be off guard to you until the end of your next turn upon hitting them with that type of finisher. And finally, picking up Lengthy Diversion and Intimidating Glare to complement a high Deception score, dual wielding these Advanced Tamchal Chakram. And our final contestant here for round 1, Igor Levchenko, our Animist from before, has similarly only improved in ability. Better training in medicine, staying with the Custodian of Groves and Gardens and the Steward of Stone and Fire, but picking up the Toughness General feat. He now has the Spiritual Armament spell at 2nd rank in his Divine Magic, and he's picked up Exploding Earth and Gentle Breeze as spells from his apparitions. He is also a little more aggressive than he was in his first appearance, beginning attuned to Earth's Bile here. Now let's get into the fight here, rolling initiative as soon as I make sure that everyone is on the correct teams for automation's sake. We're going to have Team 1 be the opposition here, and Team 2 be party. That way everything works out. Alrighty, let's get them in initiative here. And roll those dice. Alrighty. Looks like Anton Morrow is going to lead off an initiative, followed by Igor Levchenko, and then Blight-Eyed and QSY Complains a Lot. So let's begin this encounter. Anton Morrow here is going to lead off by tossing down a not a mushroom patch. They're actually going to start off by getting a floating flame set down in the open here. The range is up to 30 feet, which the contestants are farther away from each other than. And so Anton Morrow is simply going to place it right here in the open, just at the edge of range here, so that they can continue to sustain it as the combat goes on. Their last action will be raising their shield. We'll move over then to Igor Levchenko, who is going to get his own abilities activated here. He will cast Spiritual Armament, which is going to allow him to make a strike, well, a spell attack roll against a target within 120 feet as his dagger, lifted up by the spirits around him, flies forth and strikes at his foes. And he's going to be targeting the Runesmith. He was watching those fights in the first round, and he saw how devastating the Runesmith can be. So as his dagger flies over, it'll hit and deal 12 damage, which is no longer half the health of our contestants now that they're level 3. And it will injure Blight-Eyed pretty badly. And then the dagger flies back to his side. And with his last action here, he is going to raise his own shield. We'll move on then to Blight-Eyed, who is going to want to get in close here. They'll spend 2 actions striding and an action on an engraving strike against QSY Complains a Lot. This is a strike and then an attempt trace. With a success on the strike dealing 4 damage and 4 persistent bleed, QSY is able to trace a rune onto QSY Complains a Lot. And they will trace Ranshu, Rune of Thunder. There we are. And this will require QSY Complains a Lot to move around or else take electricity damage at the end of their turns. Speaking of QSY Complains a Lot, we're going to move over to them. Getting Panache early seems a good idea, and Blight-Eyed is already injured, which means a Demoralize attempt seems to be in order here. A success will give QSY here Panache and cause Blight-Eyed to become Frightened 1. And then QSY will go for an Unbalancing Finisher with the Chakram, striking and unfortunately missing. And then the last action will be used to sort of dance away, create some distance. Alrighty. At the end of round 1 here, we have some injuries on both sides and some setup casters ready to dominate the battlefield, it looks like, as QSY bleeds some and does not recover. Anton Morrow then is going to spend an action striding forward. An action sustaining this floating flame, which allows it to move up to 10 feet. It'll be rolling towards Igorlevchenko here. And sustain it one more time to float an additional 10 feet into Igorlevchenko's space, where he will be forced to make a reflex save. Ooh, he critically fails and is going to be taking a pretty sizable chunk of damage here. 16 from the ball of flame as it sort of engulfs one of his arms as he only barely dodges to the side. But that'll be Anton Morrow's turn. Igorlevchenko then is going to get out of that space with a stride all the way up to Anton Morrow. A sustain on the spiritual armament to strike at Anton, hitting for 14 damage. And then his last action will be to bring up one of his apparitions behind him and begin spitting out Earth's bile in a 10-foot burst, which is just going to include Anton Morrow here. It'll be this section, including them. Anton Morrow will have to make this reflex save against some damage, taking 3 damage. Alrighty. Then we'll move on to Blight-Eyed, who is going to stride up to QSY here and use another engraving strike. Another hit will deal 11 damage and allow them to trace Atral Rune of Fire. Here we are. And then Blight-Eyed's last action here is going to be Invoke. Invoking the effects of the Esvidir, the Sun Esvidir, on their own blade. The Ranshu and Atral on QSY Complains a Lot all at once. QSY is now going to have to make 3 fortitude saves. Against Esvidir, a success. Against Ranshu, a critical success. And against Atral, a failure. So that will be half damage on 18, no damage on Ranshu, which would have been a roll of 17, and then full damage on Atrol, which is another 18 damage. And this is enough to bring QSY Complains a Lot down to the ground, as these 3 runes, 1 on Blight-Eye's blade and 2 on QSY's clothing, burst outwards and just engulf the swashbuckler. And that will end Blight-Eye's turn here. And they will stop being frightened. Alrighty. We're back over to Anton Morrow, who is seeing things start to go quite badly here. And who does not have a particularly effective way to heal their teammate. They are simply going to strike at Igor Levchenko here with their bastard sword, hitting for 5 damage. And then they will spend their last 2 actions casting animal form and transforming into a bear to gain some resilience against the oncoming foes. And then I believe, yes, that ends the effect of Floating Flame, as it was not sustained on this turn. Alrighty, we'll move on to Igor Levchenko, who is fairly certain that this will be an easy win now. Sustaining the Spiritual Armament spell to strike against Anton Morrow here. Hitting, and only dealing 5 damage, which is enough to defeat the temporary hit points from animal form. Another action, sustaining the Earth's Bile spell, so that Anton Morrow has to make a reflex save, taking full damage as the flames engulf the bear, as well as 1 persistent fire. And then Igor Levchenko's last action is going to be to bring his shield to bear against the bear. QSY is dying. And dies even harder by bleeding while downed. See the result of the dying check. Unfortunates. Blight-Eyed is going to stride once to get into place behind this bear here and use an engraving strike, hitting just barely for 9 damage. Will actually be enough to bring Anton down as they trace the bear with a rune of Ranshu. A bolt of lightning strikes the bear corpse, as our Druid and Swashbuckler have been eliminated from the tournament. Our Runesmith and Animist, some burst and sustain combo, like legends, honestly, have succeeded and will be moving on to the 3rd season. Thanks everyone for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm excited to get into Season 2 here, leveling all of these characters up to level 3, reworking some of them to show off different builds, and seeing who's going to win the tournament. As always, as just a disclaimer, this isn't any sort of like comparison of which class is best in the game or anything. Every class is amazing, and this is not at all what a real game looks like. Not even you, Fists of the Ruby Phoenix. This is all for fun. It's not particularly balanced, but it's a ton of fun to put on and hopefully to watch. So leave a like if you like the video, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you all in the next one. See ya. See ya. Thank you to my coffee supporters. One-off donation from Kane. And then my monthly donations at the few bucks support tier. Streggy, Taran, Phoenix FH, Kizo, and Max Magnus 20,019. You all make this possible, and I couldn't appreciate it more. Thank you.